Hello, this is RV Vagabond Jerry in Yellowstone National Park, and in this video I'm going to show you some things along the road between the Norris Geyser Basin and the Old Faithful Geyser Basin. Not going to show you anything in Norris or Old Faithful, but there are a lot of geysers and other things along the road that goes from Norris to Madison, Firehole Drive, and then down to right across the highway from Old Faithful. So come along with me and I'll show you several interesting things that they have along this road. This is an area a little ways north of Madison called Artist Paint Pots. One thing they have here is a thing called blood geyser, and this explains why it's called that. There's another one. This is a very colorful scene that an artist might want to paint. Must be one of the paint pots. And there's a couple small pools here, or springs. There's another interesting little pond.
No plankton in it.
Must have made it mad there for a minute.
Yeah. Calling a name.
Here's a huge field of bison. Right near the road here, and some of them have crossed the road over there. And of course it creates a lot of traffic with everybody wanting to get out and take pictures. By the way, this Gibbon River runs all throughout the park, or maybe it's pronounced Gabon, I'm not sure, but here's a picturesque place where it crosses the highway. Here's another stopping point right along the road to see this thing called Burl Spring. And I think you can tell it's making a lot of noise. It's just steam coming out of there, and then we have water bubbling out of this spring here, which is draining down towards the river, which is the Gibbon or Gabon River across the road here. And the Gibbon River has its own waterfall. Very nice waterfall. And the falls also is right along the highway, so you don't have to hike miles to find it. Here's another stopping point right along the highway. It's called Terrace Spring. That's the small one. This is a medium-sized one, and then there's a huge pond out there. And over here it is really bubbling up. And this is unusual. It has flowers growing all around it. And over there Haven't seen that before around the park here. How about that? Of course, this is in quite a meadow. This is the Firehole Canyon Drive, which is in the Madison area. And there is a series of waterfalls along the river here. This is the main falls. There are several other falls areas that are not quite as steep. This is a little further downstream. It's called Firehole Falls. Here's another waterfall about a mile upstream from the Firehole Falls. And like I said, there is a series of small waterfalls all along this river. Like this small falls right there. Lots of them like that. This is the fountain paint pots. Much different look than the others as well. And it is busy making mud. Here's another mud pit. And this is the leather pool. I don't see any leather here. Call this the volcanic tableland. And look how high up this steam is going. Way up into the clouds. Wow. Here's a really close-up view of it. And man, is that thing busy.
I know. Sure, this was not going off like this.
Now I bet they just made up that name. That couldn't actually be something. This is Great Fountain Geyser. And as it says here, it may erupt between 5:45 and 8:45. But it's raining right now, so I'm not going to wait around for it. Now this is the first geyser I've seen that has a buildup like that. This tells a little about it. It's smoking. And this is Firehole Lake. A huge area of a huge lake. All steamy. Here's a closer up view of it. Next is the Midway Geyser Basin, and it has Yellowstone's largest hot spring right there. And look at all the runoff into the river. There and there. That's adding a lot of water coming out of that spring to the river. I'm going to show you this crater here. It's, I think, got this huge spring pool, but you can't really see the definition of it with all of the steam coming out. This really is unusual with this big crater here. There's some more of the crater. So this Grand Prismatic Spring is this huge area here. And look at all these terraces that it has. Well, this is quite a sight, I think. And it's flowing out a little bit over across this field I showed you a minute ago. Well, it looks like a couple guys lost their baseball caps. And there's another one. Don't think I'd want to go out there and get it either. This is more the Grand Prismatic Spring, and you can see the green out there in the center of the spring. But all this runoff is what's really interesting. And this is what it looks like if you didn't have all this steam. This is like a miniature version of the Grand Prismatic Spring. And you can see it fairly well through the steam. And this looks like a big swimming pool with a hot tub off to the side right there. Looks very inviting to take a dip in. Well, this is the Excelsior Spring. That's in the crater. Huge, huge spring. Yellowstone's largest, the sign said. Well, this is calling it a geyser. I wonder if the geyser originally was that hole in the bottom there. Wonder if that's where the geysing came from. This is an area called Black Sand Basin, which is right across the highway from the Old Faithful area. And that geyser right there is called the Cliff Geyser. Got a creek running through here with these geysers feeding the creek a little bit. This one is bubbling up quite a bit, putting out some water that's going over there and down here, and it too is feeding the creek. Wonder how many colors are in this rainbow pool. By the way, when you're walking through an area where that steam is going, it kind of feels good on a cold day like this. It does warm you up for a few seconds. Well, this rainbow pool does have a few different colors in it. The water is like a deep green. It's hard to see though with all this fog. This emerald pool looks pretty nice. And what's really surprising to me kinda is that there are spiders that live in here. It's called the wolf spider. How about that? This geyser is starting to do some eruptions. like every few seconds. That's the cliff geyser that is constantly erupting. Yeah, and it is certainly feeding the creek. And this Biscuit Basin is just a little ways north of the Black Sand Basin, with the same creek running through it. But here it has picked up a lot of volume. This is a really nice looking pool, which they call Black Opal Spring. Now there's several of them here. It looks like this tree has lost its battle trying to grow next to that spring. Too much acid, I bet, is the problem.
Only if you're good, you guys.
There's a big pool. But the runoff is a strange green, yellowish green color. Doesn't look like the color of the pool. Which is a nice sapphire blue. Interesting. Sometimes I wonder if these geysers will erupt while I'm standing about 8 feet from them. Okay, tell me if you've seen any mustard that looks like this. I don't think so. Guess I can't complain about this name because I have no idea what it means. It does sound like it's trying to stir up trouble, though. Uh-oh, what did somebody do there? Now this one, I kind of admit, does look a bit like a shell. That is a really unusual looking spring. Wow, look at this stuff. And it is just like 6 inches from my foot here. What could that be? Here's another feature along the way, plus a bunch of crows, or whatever that is. That's a really nice waterfall. And here's where the water is going. And this is as far as you can see the river. I'm want to show you on the map here where we went today, starting with these 3 points here, which is a little ways south of the Norris Geyser Basin, and I did a separate video on Norris Geyser Basin, and then coming down to the falls on the Gibbon River, and then over to Madison Junction. Madison Junction, there's really nothing much more than a campground, but right here is the Firehole Canyon Drive, which has several waterfalls along the Firehole River. And then going down this way further is the Fountain Paint Pot geyser area, and then the Firehole Lake Drive loop here, where there are several more geysers. And then following on down to the Midway Geyser Basin, and then the Biscuit Basin, where there are several geysers, as well as the Black Sand Basin, several geysers. Passing by Old Faithful, and the last stop I made was at Kepler Cascades, which is a big waterfall. So this road from the Norris Junction down to around the Old Faithful area, there are a whole lot of geysers and other interesting things to see along this road. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Good day, folks.